Let's talk about water damage. Seriously, it's one of the most destructive and you'd be surprised how common disasters you can face as a homeowner. But knowing the threat and knowing what to do the second it happens, that can save you thousands of dollars and a world of stress. So let's dive into your survival guide. $11,000. Take a look at that number. That's the average cost of a single residential water damage insurance claim. It's a pretty staggering figure that just goes to show how quickly a simple little leak can spiral into a major financial headache. And don't for a second think this is some rare event. Roughly 1 out of every 3 home insurance claims filed is for water damage. That means this isn't really a matter of if it could happen to you, but more like when. The good news, though, knowledge is absolutely your best defense. Okay, so if we're going to fight this threat, we first have to understand it, right? Where does all this water actually come from? And why is some water so much more dangerous than other water? What's really striking is just how ordinary these sources are. We're not talking about some freak catastrophe. We're talking about burst pipes, faulty washing machine hoses, clogged AC drain lines, or even just forgetting a bathtub is running. Get this. A single $10 rubber hose on an appliance can fail and cause $50,000 in damage if you happen to be out of town. The danger is already inside your house. Now, this is super important. You have to understand that not all water is created equal. The pros break it down into 3 categories, and you really need to know them. First, category 1 is clean water. Think a burst supply pipe. Initially, it's totally sanitary. Then you have category 2, gray water. This is stuff like discharge from a dishwasher. It's contaminated and it can make you sick. And finally, category 3 is black water. This is the bad stuff. Raw sewage, floodwater from a river, it's a serious biohazard. And if you want to know what this looks like in the real world, look at this quote from an actual insurance claim. A family goes on vacation. A tiny little supply line to a sink fails on day 1. They come home a week later to a nightmare. A tiny failure led to a total catastrophe. And this is exactly why you have to act fast. Even that clean Category 1 water, it doesn't stay clean for long. Once it soaks into drywall and carpet and just sits there, bacteria starts to multiply like crazy. In just 2 days, 48 hours, a simple cleanup job can turn into a full-blown hazardous waste situation. Time is absolutely your enemy here. So that brings us to your immediate action plan. The moment you discover water, you are in a race against the clock, and believe me, every single decision matters. Here's your deadline. The EPA is very clear on this. Mold can begin to grow on damp surfaces within just 24 to 48 hours. Just waiting around to see if it dries on its own is probably the single biggest mistake you can possibly make. It's how a water claim turns into a much more expensive and much more complicated mold claim. So what do you actually do? It comes down to 3 simple, crucial steps. First, safety. Before anything else, get to your breaker box and kill the power to any wet areas. Water and electricity do not mix. Second, stop the bleeding. Find your home's main water shutoff valve, know where it is, and turn it off. Third, call for backup. Immediately notify your insurance company and get a professional water mitigation company on the way. All right, when the pros show up, just be prepared. Your house is about to get really loud and really busy. They're going to use powerful vacuums to extract all the standing water. Then they'll set up what looks like an army of high-speed fans and dehumidifiers. They'll also start removing materials that just can't be saved, like soaked drywall or carpet padding, and they'll be there every day monitoring moisture levels until your home is officially dry. Okay, once the emergency is under control, the next battle begins, dealing with the insurance claim. And let me tell you, understanding your policy before a disaster ever happens is one of the most powerful things you can do. This is the million-dollar question, isn't it? Or at least the $11,000 question. And the answer is, well, it depends. So your standard homeowner's policy is designed for things that are sudden and accidental. Think a pipe that abruptly bursts. What they typically do not cover are damages from slow, gradual leaks that are considered a maintenance issue you should have caught. And this is critical. They also exclude floods from outside rising water and backups from sewers or drains, unless you have a special add-on. Let's get really clear about that word flood, because this trips people up all the time. To an insurance company, it doesn't just mean there's a lot of water. It specifically means water rising from an outside source, like an overflowing river or a storm surge. If water comes in under your door from the yard, that's a flood, and that requires a completely separate flood insurance policy. And that brings us to one of the biggest gaps in a standard policy: sewer and drain backups. It is a common and absolutely devastating problem, but you can buy an add-on. It's called an endorsement, specifically for this. It's usually surprisingly affordable, and trust me, it can save you from an incredibly nasty and expensive surprise. Hey, remember that 48-hour clock we talked about for mold? Well, here's why it's so critical for your wallet. Even when a policy does cover mold, it's often capped or limited to just $5,000 or $10,000. But a full professional remediation, that can easily cost double or triple that amount, leaving you to pay the huge difference right out of your own pocket. Okay, a quick but really, really important warning for you. If a contractor ever offers to waive or cover your insurance deductible, that should be a massive red flag. In many places, like here in Texas, it's actually illegal. It's often a sign that they're committing insurance fraud by inflating the bill to cover that cost. And you do not want to be involved in that. Your deductible is your responsibility, period. So when you boil it all down, it really comes back to this. The two things that will get you through a water disaster with the least amount of damage and the least amount of stress are acting with incredible speed and having the knowledge of how this whole process and your policy actually work. And all of this really leaves us with one final question for you. Are you prepared? Don't wait for the disaster to strike. Take 10 minutes this weekend, locate your main water shutoff valve, go check the supply hoses on your washing machine for any cracks or bulges, and most importantly, pull out your insurance policy and see what it really says about water. Your future self just might thank you.